Hey, this is me building a $3 million per year business in public. Yesterday, we hit #1 on the Skool games. So I now have a cute little goat icon next to me, which is fun. This is my structure for these videos. We start with some Q&A so I can give you guys some value right off the bat. Then we do some growth stats. And then finally, we round it out with some live strategy. This is the main channel at 105K subs. And then this is the daily updates channel where I answer questions. So Abdul says, what's the update in the cold email campaign video you made a while back? You said you might turn it into a full-blown series. Would actually make a lot of sense. I think a lot of people love to see that. I know I would love to see that. Thank you. I would like to see that as well. I will fill you in. TLDR, I paused it. So I got a Unibox here. I had so many positive replies. It was crazy. So many people were like, hey, this sounds fun. This sounds fun. This sounds fun. We should get in a call. So obviously it was kind of unrealistic for me to get on calls with all these people. Just for time reasons, I'm making so much more money doing what I'm doing now. Kind of have to pump the brakes in specific regions if I want to continue growing. But here are the final stats. So, 26 replies. Hold on a second. This is not, yeah, okay. So this is on like a rolling 2-week window or something like that. So check this out. When I started the campaign, I launched it at, I think like 2 or 2.5%, something like that. And now I've actually scaled them up to about 4%. This one's 4.2. So this is pretty sweet, huh? I did a little bit of split testing back and forth. I recorded a video showing how I do the iterations, and I published it to make money with May because there were a bunch of people that were doing similar email campaigns as of the time of that video. And then since then, a bunch of people have just made a ton of money with cold email. So clearly something that I was doing was right. Yeah, which is pretty cool. So that's the current status of the campaign. I do entirely plan to follow up with this and maybe do more deep dives into like the rest of the sales process. It's just tough for me to justify that right now, just to be completely blunt with you. That takes a fair amount of my time because then I have to jump on probably multiple sales calls. I have to get people that are willing to have their sales call published in the internet. I'm not like a small indie channel anymore. So like if I publish somebody's sales call to the internet, they're going to find out, they're going to be pissed. This, you probably see a bunch of people that are at like the 1,000, 2,000 sub mark, that like clip little parts of it. They can do so. I'm actually under a fair amount of liability now. So I have to find people that are more willing to do it. And, it's kind of a headache. Like if I think about the actual amount of work it would take for me to make one of these videos, probably like 10, 15 hours versus the videos that I'm making right now are like 30 minutes to 45 minutes. So just for me to push the growth lever, just being totally transparent, that's kind of where I'm at with that. But, like 1 in every 10 or 15 videos, if you make that like cornerstone content for your channel, then it's just like strategic. So totally something I'm planning on continuing to do. I don't know when I do that, but I'll fill you in. Harshith says, heart. Well said. Bim Voice says, very interesting, the inspiration from Kaladin, a bit dark with the suicide part, but inspiring. For me, it's Luffy from One Piece. Awesome, we got a fellow One Piece stan over here. Thank you, Bim Voice. At Highlander says, people can turn a setting on in their YouTube that allows them to get notifications and interactions with their comments. You have a timer running while you answer comments, and you could refer to it an estimated timestamp that you reply to each comment, but that's assuming that you don't edit anything out. Yeah, I don't edit anything out, except for yesterday when I showed, I think, like 50 people's personal email addresses, so I had to like go in a YouTube studio and cut that. That was kind of annoying. Workflow, start a timer, scroll all the way down to start Q&A. While reading the first comment, reply back the current time. The original commenter will get a notification. While reading the first comment, reply back the current time. This might be the easiest way to do what this suggested, and I have a valid reason to tell people to turn their notifications for the channel. Hit the bell and sub. That's awesome. Oh, dude, what a great idea. Okay. Yeah, this is great. Well, maybe we'll try doing it from here on out. But let's just give it a go. I don't know if this is going to work, but I'm just going to start. So 341, I stopped watching at the meaning of life question, not because it felt detracted, but because I gathered from what you said that life's meaning is what we give it during every moment, today, tomorrow, and yesterday, as it were. I will refer to Bruce Lee here, having form without form, be like water, my friend, become what's needed for the moment and let go of the rest. What's left? The meaning. Cheers all. That's awesome. Miguel says, in Maker School, zero tech knowledge, but trusting the process, right at 4 minutes. Awesome. Thank you, my man. Miguel Makonga, whoa, there's 2 Miguels here, says, hey, Nick, first of all, thank you so much for the value you bless us with every day. I'm running a campaign for a few days now. I sent out 500 emails and got 8 opportunities out of 10 replies. What are your tips for showing the system to the client as in a demo and getting the sale after the business owner shows interest? Thank you so much. I guess, I should probably do this when I start talking about the question, not after. Cool. So you got 8 opportunities. Okay, so first of all, statistically, that's awesome. Let's just do the math. 10 out of 500 is 2%. And then he ended up getting 80% of these. So that's a 1.6% positive reply rate on the campaign. So first off, thank you so much for implementing the tips that I talk about on this channel. Clearly, you're doing something right. What are your tips for showing the client the system as in the demo? I actually recommend not treating it as a demo. So during the sales call, do not treat the sales call as a demo. Why? Because when you frame things as a demo, what you're doing is you're effectively putting the burden on you, and it turns you from this consultant, which is sort of like on a partner level with the client, where you can chat through problems they're suffering from, offer solutions, in the context that you have done this sort of stuff before, and it turns you into like a dancing monkey. You're basically performing for them. I really don't like the demo frame, so I avoid using the term demo. I avoid saying the term demo. Demonstration, I don't even do stuff like that. Do you know what I do? I literally say, okay, cool. So I actually built a really similar system for somebody 2 weeks ago. Do you want to see it? It's super cool. Right. And then now it's, oh, this is just one business owner showing me something really interesting to them. It's not, this is a perfect demo that I've prepared, with like a big slide deck where I deliver a presentation surrounding the software. Does that make sense? Sorry to clear my throat. I just woke up and I get really like clogged in the morning, which blows. But anyway, the point I'm trying to make here is frame it as like a consult, right? Don't frame it as a demo. So my recommendation is have some sort of sales call structure where like at least the first 50% is you just asking questions. And what this is consultative sales. You want to get to the root of the problem. So you want to figure out what they're suffering from. You want to figure out how much money that problem that they're suffering from is costing them. You want to figure out, various things that they've tried to solve it. So have they tried working with other consultants? Have they tried solving this through other means? You want to figure out why now? So why are they looking to solve this now? Why are we having this conversation? You want to figure out, like fears surrounding this as well. And you basically just want to ask questions about all this stuff. Okay. And then you want to weave this into, this is supposed to be a brain. I know it doesn't really look like a brain, but this is your brain. You want to put this into your brain, and then you want to spit out a very simple solution for the client in the form of a system. And then what you do with this is you just show them something similar. And then when I say show something similar, I literally mean like, hey, everything you're telling me makes sense. Here's personally what I would do. Insert explanation here. Make sure it's simple. Do you want to see a similar system that I just built for an XYZ client like 2 weeks ago? I think this is probably going to solve 80% of your problem. All right, cool. It's super exciting. Let me walk you through it. And then boom, you do it. This is more or less what the sales call structure looks like for a consultative sale, at least my consultative sales. So hopefully that makes sense. Okay, I am Barney. 748 says, thanks for the amazing videos. I have a question. Would you recommend starting an AI agency like yours if English isn't my first language? I'm a bit concerned that language barriers might cause issues during sales calls or when trying to close clients. Could this be a major problem? You don't need to be a native speaker, says Leonard. I was born in Germany, can run my agency without any problems, but I'm 20 and started to speak English now around 14 years ago, so I'm unsure how good your language level is. If you can't have a normal professional conversation, you can also focus on leads in your country. For me, I saw that in Germany, often businesses needed my services even more as they're not used to using AI and not as used to automations and sales calls versus most people in the USA. Well, I would agree with Leonard in this instance. You don't need to know English extraordinarily well in order to sell. Does it help? Yes. Don't let anybody tell you that it does not help. If you are attempting to close somebody in the language that they are most comfortable in, and you are not as comfortable in that language as them, there will always be some impact to your ability to close them. There are probably some weird 1% edge cases where that actually makes you a better closer, now that I'm thinking about it. But in the vast majority of the time, you will have a harder time expressing yourself in terms that the client will understand. This is just life, right? So this is basically a trade-off where when you learn English, you have the ability to reach a much wider audience that typically has more money available to spend on services like yours. Most of this technology is built in English. Most of this technology is communicated about in English. Most of the money on planet Earth is allocated in English-speaking countries, right? The trade-off there is you're going to have to put a lot of time and energy into learning English, and then you're going to have to communicate in a language that you're not as comfortable with. Versus, you could, let's say, sell to the German market, and maybe on average, the German market has less money available to spend on these problems. Maybe they're less interested in these problems. Maybe you have to do more education. But the upside to that is you understand the language natively, and I don't know, you're a lot more fluent, and it's a lot more convenient for you, so you don't have to do that learning. So it's just an equation. And in this equation, I would recommend that you go for it. Tech to Jazz says, what's your Mac model? I should probably write this down. You know what? I just actually bought one yesterday. It's the M4 Max. So I'm just migrating everything over right now. Hussein says, Do you think it's possible to reach 25K with an AI automation agency if you get your work done well and work less overall in a week to still maintain that level? Also, I know you mentioned that the AI agency space is only 3 years to survive. After that, you're so screwed. Is that true? Yeah, people always take these things that I mentioned and then they just take them wildly out of context. I didn't say that it only has 3 years to survive. I just said that like peak oil is probably like in 3 years. What I mean by that is like over the course of the next 3 years, one unit of work will deliver more result in terms of money for you or anybody else watching than after 3 years. It's not that it only has 3 years to survive. It's just that you will receive better returns on a new niche that is not saturated and where dedicated software products have not been built to solve the needs of the niche as a custom service implementation partner, right? So yeah, don't sweat that. Yes, you can reach 25K with an automation agency. Okay. Star Platinum says, how do we stop AI from hallucinating responses? I sometimes find that when using AI to generate proposals, it'll just add stuff on its own. Yeah, this is really just prompt engineering. It's tough. You're never going to be 100%. So let's just, make something abundantly clear. Like the strength of AI is in its flexibility. Like literally that is the main strength of AI. It's flexible. It's not procedural. Some would probably say it's deterministic, but you can, like water, fill a shape instead of, like Tetris style blocks like most procedural systems are. But similarly, that is also the main drawback of AI. So the flexibility is both the pro and the con. So the question is, how do you wrangle the positive sides of flexibility while minimizing the negative sides of flexibility? If you really want to do this well, you need really good prompt engineering. So what are some great ways to do this sort of prompt engineering? Check out Goran's style guide here for an example on how he prompts AI. Goran's just a very prolific writer and thinker, somebody whose style guide I actually just used as inspiration yesterday when I was building out a new and improved version of my email classifier, for instance. And he has like a condensed manual of style. And then he also has a much more detailed manual of style over here. And you'll notice that he's extraordinarily detailed about everything that he adds into the prompt. And this is a good example of like, prompts have changed. Back in the day, you used to not be able to prompt models with more than maybe 300 or so words without significantly impacting their ability to output high quality content. Now you can actually add like a ton of context directly in the prompt. So like, check this out. Adhere strictly to American spelling, editing quotes for consistently originals archived, metric units providing conversions for quoted impurely, Oxford comma and logical quotation, use single spacing after periods, employ Kesselman estimate of words for probabilities, write statistical significance testing, hyphenated and replace type 1 or 2 error with false positive negative. Why is he saying this? Because he's had issues in the past where it doesn't write statistical significance testing in the way that he wants to do. So he's actually just like saying, almost like procedural rules, don't do this, don't do this, do this, do this, do this, right? So like you gotta get really, really intense with the prompt. So just check out goran.net /style-guide for an example of like just the level of detail that you need in order to produce like high quality works. It's funny because I just like tested something with this. I added this prompt or a variation of it to OpenAI's assistants, and then I had it answer some question that somebody gave me, and it wrote like an extraordinarily deep and interesting and fun, like literary work in response. So that sort of prompt style really does work. Prompt is the moat. Okay. You just have to be a lot better at it. Also check out Anthropic's prompt engineering guide. This right over here is a big guide on how best to do prompt engineering. There's a little prompt generator here, a bunch of examples, chain of thought, XML tags. These guys obviously like created a model, Claude. So they kind of wrote the book on prompt engineering alongside it. Definitely check that out. Sham says, thanks for the daily value. Been thinking of joining Maker School for a while now. I might do it soon. You might do it soon. Cool. Well, I mean, if you want to join at our price, you probably should. I know some people in real estate, but I find it difficult to know what type of automation would fit best in this niche. If you worked in this niche, can you give a few examples of what you built? Also, do you think I should target freelancers, individuals, or focus on companies and agencies? Well, a freelancer, individuals can own companies, right? Individuals can also own agencies. So I guess what you're saying is, should I focus on an audience, like an employee size of 1, or should I go broader than 1? I recommend going like 1 to 10. So focus on a combination. No need to make this mutually mutually exclusive. You can target both. Can I give you a few examples of what I built? Yes, I built on the buy side. A developer was looking for, he worked with a brokerage that actually, like, they bought underpriced homes and then they flipped them. And so they had a massive email list of like 50,000. And so I created this big cold email system that took their addresses, took all the personal information that they got about the people, and then just crafted like a cold email campaign. And there was some super extraordinary case study, which I don't have access to, but I'm pretty sure I think they made like, was it $50,000 or $150,000 in the first day? I've mentioned this at some point on this channel. I don't know exactly what the case study is now. It's not coming to me. Boy, do I talk a lot. But it was something extraordinary. Like they launched the campaign and they bought a house that should have been valued at like 400 grand or something for like 250 grand. I believe that was the case study, something like that. So that was pretty cool. They loved that system so much. And I vastly underpriced myself because this is pretty early on in my career. What else? Automated property assessments where somebody wants like their property value assessed or whatever. You just like pump that through a make.com or N8N flow that just like multiply, it's algorithmic, right? It's like, what's the square footage multiplied by like the average dollar per square foot for units in the region, multiplied by like the combined distance, the weighted average of like the distance to like the nearest school, the statistical crime rate in the area, just a bunch of factors. You multiply them together, then you get an automated property assessment. That's kind of cool. What else? Yeah, I'd say those are probably, I mean, I've done lots of real estate projects, but those are probably like the things that actually have value, if I'm real. Just because real estate it's a pretty old industry, right? It's pretty well established. Because it's pretty well established, like there tend to be like one-shot software products that just do everything for the average non-technical real estate agent. Like there's a lot of stuff there where real estate agents have CRMs that do automated follow-ups. Oh yeah, automated follow-ups. What the hell am I talking about? Automated follow-ups are huge. Most real estate CRMs have like simple automated follow-ups that are like, Merry Christmas from the Saraev real estate family, right? Wishing you happy blessings on this Easter or some shit. Those don't really work that well. As a real estate agent, like if you're on the buy or sell side and you're a smaller person, I work in, I don't know, in Keller Williams or something. Like a big chunk of the money that you will make as a real estate agent is you literally just showing up in their head every 3 months so that if they know anybody else that's looking to have their home sold or bought, I guess, sold, or if they were looking to buy a home, Jesus, I can't talk today, apologies. Then if you're just like top of mind, then they actually make money just by like, being available for referrals and stuff. So what's a big chunk of that? A big chunk of that is just like automated SMS messages. Hey, Pete, just wanted to check in on the new home. I know it's been 3 months. How we looking, man? Thanks so much, by the way. Had a blast working with you and blah, blah, blah. Little follow-ups like that are really cool. Get their birthday, be like, hey man, just wanted to wish you a happy birthday. I know it's out of left field, but hope you're enjoying the new home, and hope you and Samantha are settling in nicely. Little stuff like that, like one-offs, those are great for this. Not like the super beautifully well done emails that are almost like newsletters, because then that just implies that you're pumped into a sequence. Are you single? As of right now, I am not single. I have a girlfriend, lovely woman. She is fantastic. Gonna go see her later today. Looking forward to it. Yazid says he's married to his business. Not gonna comment on that. Emin Kochel says, here for the 50K loss, stayed for the egg. Yes, you did. The egg. What a great story. Maxime Prenko says, hey, Nick, what's the most effective outreach method someone with zero budget can use to land their first client? Do you think it's better to create something up front, like a sample or a strategy to send with each message, even if it lowers the number of people I can reach? Or should I focus on sending am I 19 minutes already? Okay, I got to stop this. Or should I focus on sending highly personalized cold emails with a no-brainer offer? Think of writing each email myself and realistically send 30 to 40 per day. Wow, that's great. Should I create something up front or focus on sending highly personalized cold emails with a no-brainer offer? I mean, dude, like you should do both simultaneously. You should, if you're going to send 30 to 40 per day, do 30, don't do 40. Let's just cut it down. Let's be reasonable here. The goal here, the main enemy when sending outreach is not whether you're going to send 30 a day or 40 a day. It's whether you're going to send a little bit too much every day that you just stop doing it 5 days in because it's too much work. So make it easier for yourself, okay? Just get the ball rolling. Hell, start with 20 for the next week. After you do 20 every day for the next week, then bump it up to 30. You'll have systems that'll enable you to do it a little bit faster. So take the 30, cut it in half, do 15 with the super deep personalization, 15 with some sort of custom asset. Have like 2 or 3 custom assets custom asset templates so that you can very quickly and easily create them for people. And then have like 2 or 3, deep personalized email templates that you can quickly jump in variables and stuff. And yeah, just send 20 a day for the next 7 days, then scale it up to 30 a day for the next 7 days. Once you have some sort of habit or momentum, maybe then you can go 40. By then, I imagine you're probably going to have already landed in a number of people's inboxes and will have impressed them to the point where you have booked a few calls. Serendipity is everything in business. I wouldn't be surprised if you just doing this and reaching out to people custom lands you a deal in the first 7 to 14 days, to be honest. Yeah. If you have the gumption to just whip up an email campaign like that, like keep in mind, very few people do. Very few people could sit down and do 20 a day for a week, let alone 30 or 40 a day for a week. You're the sort of person that I'm sure would be able to demonstrate sufficient value on a call that you'd be able to make it. Like I'm seeing patterns here now that I've coached, several thousands of people. And yeah, this is a pretty high value pattern. Okay. Cool. Hope this makes sense. Let's do some brand stats. I yesterday brainstormed a bunch of stuff on this channel, and I've since acted on a lot of the stuff that I brainstormed. So I'm excited to fill you all in on that. And then I got a weekly office hour, so I'm going to duck off here in a few minutes. But yeah, 105,554. It's pretty early today, and I recorded this one pretty late, so we're probably still right around 1,000, which is 0.8% growth. Is that the best? No, it's not, but that's okay. 151,585 on my Instagram. And then what did my daily updates channel? You guys want to see something cool? 5,253, which is the highest growth I've had in 8 days. What changed? And keep in mind, this is actually higher growth. This is much higher growth than this. It's like 2.5% because I'm not at the full 24 hours yet because I'm recording this a little earlier than usual. What changed? Well, yesterday, part of my strategy involved looking for ways to get more people hooked on the daily update stuff because I was just kind of curious why my follower count had slowed so drastically. There were a couple days back then when I was doing 100, 150. Well, 100 and 150 people that I got were people that just like really liked my main channel, and they just really liked reading through all my descriptions and stuff, and they found the daily updates buried in like a couple of my videos from way back in the day. So I was like, seems like a pretty low-hanging fruit. What if I just added the daily updates link to literally every one of my YouTube videos? And you know what? I did 24 hours ago, and now I've gotten like 100 extra followers, probably like 150. So that's pretty cool. I also did a couple other things. Let me show you guys what the notes were for anybody that didn't see yesterday. So I extrapolated my growth over time. I said, assuming I grow at 0.8% every day on average over the course of the next, 200 whatever days till the end of the year, I'm going to hit somewhere around like 500,000 followers. Okay. Then I said, okay, great. So what are the existential risks that would impact my ability to do this? The two were I stopped posting daily, and then AI automation as an industry just sucks. All these big dogs that are coming in just sour everybody's taste of the industry. It just ends up being really crappy. So there are a variety of things that I implemented to allow myself to do this. The first was to make work less frictionful. So I looked at a bunch of different ways that I could make work less frictionful. And I identified that, when I live long-term in a place, and I'm moving into a place in about 2 weeks long-term, I'm going to set up a studio. The studio is just always going to have everything I need like available at the click of a button. So I'm going to have like a built-in like light in the corner of my room that's going to be oriented perfectly towards my face. I'm going to have the camera hooked up 24/7. I'm going to have like a simple button, maybe like an Elgato Stream Deck thing that I just tap and then I start talking to the camera. I'm going to have a much better computer. So yesterday I went out and I bought myself like the top of the line MacBook. I've had some issues with recording and buffer sizes and bit rates. This is just going to completely eliminate the 10% of the time that happens. I'm just going to make my life, I'm going to buy like an ergonomic chair. I'm just going to make my ability to do this work even easier than it is right now because I've been moving around a fair amount recently and it hasn't been the best. Okay. Let me just drink some coffee. One sec. The second is decreasing work over time. So I ask myself, what are some ways that I could decrease the amount of work that I need to do every single day in order to bump out a piece of content? Content's getting difficult. I'm squeezing the wet towel, and I'm down to like the last few drops. That's kind of how it feels like, to be honest, just to be clear with you and candid behind the scenes. So I was like, all right, there's something going on where I'm just producing such an insane amount that it's actually just growing difficult for me to continue keeping it up. So there are a bunch of different ways that I could make this better. I could make the content that I'm doing funner, so it's more enjoyable intrinsically. I could also make it easier, so it feels like it's less work going out. Bunch of different ways. One way that I stumbled across was making it easier. And so I developed a strategy, which I'm now calling the niche pack strategy, where I'm basically going to go deep and then create content about various niches every day. And then I'll go through automations that you could sell to these various niches. So 3 boring AI automations you can sell to coaches for 1.5K each. I came up with the idea less than 24 hours ago, and then I built it. Also, this is not good title format, so we gotta fix that. Let me just make a note so that my team knows that we can't go over 60 characters. So yeah, within 24 hours of actually built out the strategy that will enable me to create much easier content. The reason why this title format reminder, the reason why this sort of content is really easy for me to do is because I've actually just already talked about most of these automations separately across my channel. What I'm doing now is I'm curating and then bundling them into these niche packs where I'll do 3 AI automations to coaches, 5 AI automations to B2B SaaS, 4 AI automations to this, It's also a lot higher value to my audience right now specifically. And then it also functions as a way I can get more people into Maker School. The funniest thing is most of these templates are available for free on YouTube, but I just have so many videos now that I've actually created a problem for my audience, which is wrangling all those templates together and getting them in one simple and easy to look at place. So if you go into Maker School and you go into Classroom, you go into Resource Library, there's now a new section called Niche Packs. And inside of niche packs, I will have a bunch of different packs. So coaches, consultants, and YouTube inbound businesses, here's some systems you can sell to them right off the bat. I'm just going to be populating this with all the systems that I put together. So that's going to be pretty cool, right? And then you know what else is kind of crazy and silly? I'm going to repurpose my niche packs, and I'll put all my niche packs together in a monster video called 29 AI automations you could sell to anybody or something like that. So that's cool. There's a lot of added leverage there. And subjectively, the amount of work I put into one of these videos is less than the amount of work I put into basically any one of my other videos. So I'm going to combine niche pack videos with the AI agency stuff. And yeah, I think I'm probably going to be able to eliminate 30 to 40% of my work right there off the bat. So how cool is that? Okay. Then accountability groups is another really big thing. So I asked myself, hey, what are some ways that I could make this more social? And turns out accountability groups are a big one. What is an accountability group? It's usually just a group chat with a bunch of other people that are doing the same thing as you. And you just fire each other up. Yo, man, great content, dude. Love the video. Yo, guys, I just published this. Hey, what's up, right? Tiny little energy here. Cool strategy hacks. Just a good way to keep in touch with people that are doing the same thing. And it switches it so that you're not competing with people. You guys are all kind of working towards a common end. So yeah, I joined a couple of accountability groups yesterday. I put one together actually with a bunch of people that I like and admire. And then I just took another one of mine a lot more seriously and just sent them all a message letting them know what my intentions were. So I did that and now I'm done. So that's pretty cool. Daily updates channel. I went and I added that to the top of all of my descriptions, as I mentioned. Anti-signal videos. We're going to be creating some anti-signal videos. So stuff like, hey guys, here's how you actually do this stuff. Hey, listen, a lot of people talk about doing XYZ really easy thing. In this video, I want to show you, how to actually do this, not just how to follow the hype, something like that. And then migrating some of my followers from AI automation content to something else. Now, AI automation content is something else. Well, think about it. What is the something else? The something else is business, right? Which kind of feeds into the daily update stuff that I'm doing. So I am going more general business strategy advice, which is kind of cool. The AI automation niche pack strategy is probably not aligned with that now that I'm thinking about it, but it's okay. I think I'm just focusing more top of funnel, which is important. So yeah, that's pretty cool. I also hit #1 on Skool. So it seems like it was kind of inevitable just with the growth. Looks like I just got some more customers. Excellent. So we're now at 248,437. Got that cute little goat emoji next to my name. I talked to a few people about what this means, like school games and whatnot. They're saying that they're going to ask me to do some sort of presentation. So I thought I would get ahead of the presentation and then I would actually just tell everybody everything that I did. And then I would use that as the presentation guideline, essentially. So at some point in the next 72 hours, I should create a big monster post and then post it on Skool called something like, here's everything I did to get to #1 on Skool all time, something like that. Yeah, and then I can maybe get into my coaches business model like I was telling you guys about. That's kind of neat. Anyway, I'm signing off. I got a weekly office hour I just really quickly got to prep for. Thank you very much for joining. Looking forward to seeing y'all in Maker School and just tomorrow in general.